Hurricane Erin has re-strengthened for today, and impacts are beginning to be felt across portions of the United States East Coast and Bermuda. We'll look at that and two tropical waves in the Atlantic. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather. It's great to see you on this Wednesday. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, Erin is a monster again and has re-strengthened throughout the day. It's teetering on major hurricane status once again, and we're beginning to see some of the outer feeder bands and the high surf and sea conditions push along the United States East Coast, getting closer to Bermuda. So we'll talk all about Erin, the latest of what's going on with this storm. We've got two different waves in the Atlantic to talk about and potential development with that in just the next couple of days. And of course, look at the island by island forecast as well. So let's get started, my friends. Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. Storm moves into your area, get damage of any kind. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. LeanOnMeLaw.com is the website. As always, want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below what's been happening in your area. Have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments as we move along in this video. I'm going to bring on, you're going to first see the temperatures, but I'm going to switch over to the wind gusts very quickly, and let's look at what Erin has been up to the last 24 hours. It has absolutely overcome any of the wind shear yesterday. A clear eye has been defined again, and all four quadrants of the storm look very healthy. As of the 5 o'clock Wednesday advisory from the Hurricane Center, winds are 110 miles an hour. It's the highest Category 2 you can get. It is forecast to become a Category 3 again. So it's forecast to become a major hurricane either later tonight or overnight. At any point in time, the Hurricane Center could pull the trigger on that. Here's the good news. It doesn't really matter for us because we're still not forecasting the core hurricane force winds to make landfall anywhere, either along the United States East Coast or in Bermuda. The bigger story is how large Erin is in the expansive wind fields that comes along with it. But again, just an impressive storm overall. I'm going to even bring back on the lightning data here as well. Let's take a look at how big this storm is, because it's kind of elongated itself when it got into the Gulf Stream waters. There are some thunderstorms with Erin all the way back into the central Bahamas. So you've got from north to south a storm that's over 800 miles wide. And then from east to west, again, you have a few thunderstorms out here. Pop that on real quick right here. And then we go out to the east. Okay, come on, work for me here. Here we go. It's over 700 miles from west to east. It's such a large storm. I can't tell you again how fortunate we are that this storm's core is not tracking closer to the coastline. Now, again, let's be clear. That does not mean we're not going to get some impacts. You can see some of the tropical storm warnings that are in effect in those areas in blue, and that's what we're going to look at right now. Tropical storm warnings for the Beaufort Inlet, North Carolina area, to Chincoteague, Virginia. That does include the Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. And then a tropical storm watch is now in effect for my friends in Bermuda. So tropical storm conditions are possible on the island of Bermuda, and it's all going to go downhill throughout the remainder of this Wednesday overnight and then through Thursday as well. Latest hurricane reconnaissance aircraft that went through Erin, it's a much more impressive storm than 24 hours ago. All the purple that you see are hurricane force winds at flight level. We had none of that on the western side of the storm this time yesterday, but look how healthy all four quadrants are. And now your hurricane force winds are extending about 40 miles on the southwest side of the storm and about 50 miles on the northwest side. So the hurricane force wind field has expanded along with the tropical storm force winds, which on the eastern side of the storm can get up to around 250 miles from the center. It's a little bit tighter on the western side, but still going to cause some issues. So let's take a look at what's going on right now. I'm going to bring up the radar data, going to bring up the visible satellite imagery here. Get a lot of different things I can show you here at Meteo Mundo, and we're just beginning to see the outer feeder bands of Erin work their way into the North Carolina coastline. Winds are beginning to freshen up, again, right around 30-mile-an-hour breezes. I'll drop off these warnings and watches because we already looked at those. So the winds are freshening. We're going to start to get some squalls moving in here late this afternoon and this evening, but that's only part of the story. The other part is the high surf and flooding conditions that'll come along. They're talking about 10 to 20 foot breakers at the coastline along the outer banks of North Carolina, with some major flooding potential in places like Duck and Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and other areas. So you are really looking at an inundation of water with the higher surf and sea conditions and the higher normal tides coming in. It's going to be a big problem here along coastal North Carolina and even portions of Virginia up towards the Virginia Beach area and Chickateague, places that we've already mentioned, but just beginning to see that go downhill. Just before I came on, I was looking at the local storm reports. Haven't had any flooding reports as of yet, but again, things unfortunately are really just beginning to kind of crank up in those areas. So let me show you guys a couple of the different models here. I'm going to switch over to what we call the HRRR model. It's the high resolution model here. Because we are close to the United States, I'm able to show you this one. First of all, we'll take a look at the reflectivity, which is on the board for you right now. Might take just 1 second for me to kind of reset things here, but all I have to do is take this out to, tomorrow evening, and we'll see the storm pass by. By the way, those concentric circles are going to be the wind forecast radii here from the computer. But first and foremost, still an impressive storm. Again, low in Cat 3, likely moving through between North Carolina and Bermuda. Now, again, unfortunately, this is a North American model, so the domain doesn't get to Bermuda, but we can take a look at what's going on in North Carolina first and then shift over to our friends at Bermuda. Expecting tropical storm conditions to brush the coastline tonight and overnight. But again, the core of the storm stays just offshore. This is like the Goldilocks track. And I got to say, right, the Hurricane Center and the models did a very impressive job on the track with this storm. About 5 days ago, they were forecasting it to go between North Carolina and Bermuda, and that has really played out. Again, for this, what was Cat 5 storm to miss any landmass in the islands, the east coast of the United States, it's about the best case scenario. Again, we're going to get impacts, but we're not going to get hurricane impacts. So you can clearly see the storm beginning to spin up. You look at your time frame, this is tomorrow morning around daybreak, and then moving away. We still have that trough here across the New England coastline, which should pull the storm back offshore as it gets to the North Atlantic. So not going to get a direct impact for places like Long Island or Cape Cod on over towards Massachusetts, but they are going to see some marine conditions be elevated in those spots as well. Here's what it looks like with the surface winds. So that's the next thing we're going to take a look at here. Same model, surface winds. I'm going to put on the vectors as well. So you're just going to see the the winds and direction that they're going. Obviously, they're counterclockwise around this storm, but for the coastal areas here, Delmarva Peninsula back to North Carolina, you're going to get different spin to some of these winds. But obviously, being on the west side, there's going to be a lot of northerly direction, northeast direction to a lot of this wind here overall, and eventually it will pull back offshore. But in the short term, these winds are more of a onshore variety. And if we pause this and we go back to, let's say, about daybreak tomorrow morning, where the center, again, let's show you how close to the center we're going to be from OBX out. We're about 160, 75 miles, that average. Again, tropical storm force winds sustained around 150 on this side of the storm. So that's why when you look at this, those whites get up to 40. So that's your sustained tropical storm force winds up to those orange 50, 60 plus. So, places like all of OBX, really, Ocracoke Island, all the way up to Kitty Hawk and Duck, could see those 40, 50 sustained winds and then gusts to around 60 miles an hour. So that's what it looks like for you there. We're going to switch over to the GFS model for my friends in Bermuda. So again, this is just a little bit larger domain, so we can get a little bit better view of the island here. So take me just 1 second to reset that for you guys. Going to bring that up. You'll see the winds pop up first, but I'm going to switch over to reflectivity. And just to, again, show you. Now, the good news is for my friends in Bermuda, all right, when you look at this centerline track from the Hurricane Center, this is about 400 miles from the island. That's why you guys are not under a tropical storm warning and more like a tropical storm watch, even though tropical storm force winds are about 250 east of the center and could even expand in the next 24 hours. More than likely, we're not going to get sustained tropical storm conditions over Bermuda, even as this bends to the north and to the east. It's staying just far enough away. Now, obviously, sea conditions will be elevated and there'll be some squalls and there'll be some locally heavy rainfall as well. But again, all of this beginning to pull offshore starting late tomorrow and then during the day on Friday. Let's look at the European model wind gusts. Again, just going to loop this up. And if you live inland here in the United States, you can see some of those wind gusts that are forecast for you. But obviously, it's coastal areas all the way up to Jersey and Long Island and Cape Cod, places like that, coastal Connecticut, Rhode Island, fresh winds up there. But the sustained winds that are strongest are right along the Carolina coastline. Same model, just a snapshot tomorrow morning. There's a 56 here. So you get some, again, gusts right around 60 miles an hour. Then just inland, here, even east, east of Raleigh and Durham, you're going to get to 35, 40 mile an hour winds. Virginia Beach, right around 40 as well. Obviously, the other story is the significant waves. Still going to have some 50-foot waves with Erin again, especially with it becoming more than likely a major hurricane again. Just a tremendously large storm out there. And we'll talk about the next one down the road coming up, I promise you. But looking at this, the significant waves, the inundation of water is more than likely going to be the biggest story here in a lot of the United States East Coast. So you're going to get double-digit wave heights. And again, along the North Carolina coastline, 10 to 20-foot breakers. But even up towards New England, right, the New England coastline, you're going to have to deal with some very rough surf and sea conditions, higher than normal tides. Please check in with your local weather service offices and local government officials, because our coastline is so different here along the United States East Coast. There are so many orientations of it and how water piles up. It's hard to talk in very broad circles. But I will say this again, Outer Banks, North Carolina, a 2 to 4 foot storm surge is likely. Major flooding is possible in some areas, unfortunately. So timing tonight and Thursday, winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour with some sustained gusts of 60. In Bermuda, it's more than likely going to be 25 to 35, maybe some gusts up to 50. The large waves, the dangerous surf conditions, rainfall totals in some spots 4 to 6 inches, locally higher. It does look like the core of the most significant feeder bands stays just offshore of both Bermuda and North Carolina. So again, kind of splitting the goalposts here, about the best that we could possibly see. Now, we have had some healthy storms even in the Bahamas. This was last night from Craig. This is big major key on the island of Exuma in the Bahamas. Look at that thunderstorm, by the way. What a gorgeous shot there. You got the vessel in the foreground. You got the healthy thunderstorms and the kicked up sea conditions. Appreciate Craig sending in that photo. By the way, this is also known as Pig Beach because there are literally wild pigs that will swim with you at this beach on the island of Exuma there in the Bahamas. Friends, I appreciate you guys taking a quick second and liking this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you found your home for these tropical updates and your forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Appreciate those who are the first subscribers, or if you subscribed here while you're watching this video, I appreciate every one of you. Thanks for sharing this with your family and friends as well. All right, so just kind of recapping what's happening with Erin, pulling away from the U.S. East Coast beginning tomorrow, but still some big impacts beginning to arrive. Now, I mentioned our friends in the Bahamas. There are still some scattered showers and thunderstorms at the hour. It's not like it's completely dry here, kind of just developing. Nothing is very organized, but there's just enough moisture and instability left over from Erin that we're beginning to pop up some of that as well. No big strong winds here. And again, even up into the northwest Bahamas, Walker's Key and the Freeport, Lucaya areas of Grand Bahama and Marsh Harbor, all places that have had some thunderstorm activity, and you can clearly see it's all spiraling on the southwest side of Erin, and this has snuck into the central Bahamas at the hour. So a couple of live looks for you guys. If you don't know, we have live cameras here at Meteo Mundo. Here's a live look to Long Island. Passing showers and squalls still. Again, this is on the western sheltered side of the island, so we're not seeing the elevated sea conditions from this shot, but you get the idea. And then this is an even better idea of the passing showers and squalls and the very blustery conditions. Live look outside the Governor's Harbor there in central Eleuthera. You saw some of the showers passing by on the radar. This is the live look, some dark low bases of some of these clouds. There are some inherent rotation with this. I can't rule out a waterspout or two in central or northern Bahamas for today, so keep that in mind. Again, even coastal, North Carolina and Virginia, with the inherent rotation with some of these storms, it's not out of the question to have a brief funnel cloud from time to time. Other areas that have seen some impactful weather. I'm going to go back to my friends in Jamaica at the hour. We've had this kind of axis of moisture develop, really from Cuba back down towards portions of Central America. You can see that right here, and it just happens to be crossing over the island of Jamaica at the hour. This is what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery. We've had some really thick cloud coverage. We've had a heck of a lot of lightning. We've had some good downpours in the central and the western sides of the island. Look at those thunderstorms developing here in the last couple of hours. Places like Westmoreland and Hanover parishes, but inland too, St. James and St. Elizabeth and Manchester parishes. So Mandeville, Black River, Cambridge, Montego Bay, Lucy, Negril, Savlamar, all with opportunities for some storms. And I can show you a video that Sadine sent in from the Black River area of St. Elizabeth Parish earlier in today. Look at those downpours coming out. What a beautiful shot, by the way. Again, you know, kind of up on an elevated plateau and then looking back down to the valley. And you can see that is a healthy downpour in that area. More than likely a few strokes of lightning from time to time as well. Appreciate Sadine sending in that video to help tell the story in Jamaica. My friends in Jamaica, let me know if you've had some of those showers. But again, nice healthy moisture moving through this area the remainder of the day. We've had some spotty showers again develop over portions of the Yucatan, but it's been a little bit drier today overall. A couple of thunderstorms developing in coastal sides of Guatemala, moving inland, southern sides of Belize. Healthier thunderstorms over Nicaragua beginning to develop over Honduras. Swing back over here towards Cuba. We've had some thunderstorms develop again. You know, sea breeze storms have been quite active for today. Moisture is still prominent over the Dominican Republic and Haiti, especially on the Haitian side right now. And you can see some of that spiraling in and has lifted up a couple of thunderstorms at the hour. You get a little bit farther east, you're going to be quieter for today. It's been a much drier forecast over here for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and all of the Lesser Antilles for today. You know, not a bad afternoon. My friends, a lot of you guys have told me, said, Rusty, look, you know, when it has not been raining, it's been brutally hot. And that is a big story. That's the current air temperatures, around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius in a lot of spots. But the feels like temperatures have been 105, 110 higher in some areas. Port of Spain, Trinidad had a feels like temperature today of 111 Fahrenheit, even in Guila, in St. Kitts and Nevis, in Antigua, in Barbuda. I mean, it's been pretty rough from time to time here. Virgin Gorda, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, you know, not a fantastic feel to the air this afternoon. A couple of other cameras to show you live. Current St. Lucia on this Wednesday. Again, a little bit of cloud coverage there, but it's trapping in the humidity. There's a bit of haze as well in the Eastern Caribbean. That's contributing to the feels like temperatures being as high as they have been. And then it's a beautiful shot for our friends in the ABC Islands. A live look outside to Oranjestad here late on this Wednesday. A little bit of a breeze, but a lot of sunshine to go along with it. All right, let's reset the shot. I'm going to take my mid-break wet the whistle drink. Appreciate you indulging me doing that. Let's talk about the next two waves that are on the board. First of all, this one has still really yet to get itself organized. But let's be clear, it is also not that far from the Lesser Antilles any longer. This is what it looks like on the water vapor imagery. It's still fighting some drier air. That's all the area that you see in red, but we've also had a blow up of some convection and deeper moisture on the northwest side. This is holding together. It isn't imminently trying to develop, but I certainly can't say that it's just going to fizzle away. And the Hurricane Center does have a 60% chance of development, potentially beginning late tomorrow or on Friday. Now, the trend with the development area has been to go farther north and then turn more due north, even away from where Erin has been. So even a quicker recurve is likely with this system. That does not mean, though, that, you know, again, late tomorrow and especially Friday and Saturday, we could see some indirect impacts from this developing system for the northern Leeward Islands. In that potential development area, you have places like Anegada, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's, Antigua, and Barbuda. Again, the far, far southwest side of this, but regardless, more tropical moisture coming in with this disturbance that will have to be monitored. I'll obviously keep a very close eye on it. It's good that it hasn't developed as of yet, but also it's looking a little bit better for today. You want to talk about one, I'm going to be quite honest with you here. This more than likely is a tropical depression at this point in time. The Hurricane Center hasn't pulled the trigger on it. It's still Invest 99L. Winds are 35 miles an hour. Probably why they haven't pulled the trigger on this is that down the road, this is expected to encounter much rougher environmental conditions. If you notice that this orange area doesn't extend out anymore, what the Hurricane Center is saying is like, look, yes, things look good now, but it's moving into an area of sheer and drier air in the Atlantic basin, and more than likely won't be able to sustain itself and will become an elongated open wave. So that's why, because by definition, if we're just looking at satellite data here, this is at least a tropical depression, if not even a tropical storm. Right? Some of the other meteorologists that I follow, that I put a lot of weight into what they say. When we're looking at some of the data behind the scenes here, it looks healthy enough by satellite data and some other, scatterometer data, stuff like that, where it could be a tropical storm at this point in time, but it's not. Technically, it's still Invest 99L, and more than likely it's because it may not hold together within a 48-hour time frame. So let's do this first. I'm going to go over to the wide view here of the GFS, pull this up, and let's take a look at these individually. So I'm going to spin this out about a week, and reflectivity-wise, take just a second to load up. Let's first of all begin with this one. GFS does ultimately develop this. It's weak, but it does hold together. I hate to say this for my friends in Bermuda, this is a storm, if it does hold together, that down the road, we're gonna have to monitor for you in that 4, 5, 6 day time frame, all right? So we'll be watching how this plays out, but notice the very quick recurve. This again is likely to not bring direct impacts to most of the Leeward Islands and the Greater Antilles. Again, could it brush the Northern Leeward Islands? It's a possibility. Should it be still fairly, small and disorganized at that point in time? Yes. But regardless, as we get towards the weekend here, really beginning tomorrow, and then throughout the day, today's obviously the 20th. As we get to tomorrow, we'll start to see some rain move in, and especially beginning on Friday, you'll see some of these passing showers here wrap up. Now, as the system moves north, south winds are going to be pulling back into Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and it could still be fairly wet Saturday and Sunday, even as this system begins to pull away. Now, the secondary one, Invest 99L, the one that looks a lot healthier right now, if you look towards the main development region of the Atlantic, here it comes, and there it goes. On the GFS model, it doesn't really hold together. You do get some moisture kind of pulling into the Eastern Caribbean at a much lower latitude. That's the other big story with this next system, is that 99L is going to be much lower latitude, so it should bring at least some rain to the Windward Islands and portions of the Lesser Antilles. Now, when we look at the European model, here goes Erin pulling away. Here is our one closer to the Leeward Islands right now that does develop on the European model and does make a close approach to Bermuda as we get into Sunday and Monday. But you notice in the Atlantic basin, we don't have much. There's one area here. So a little bit of potential development here. If I go back and show you one more time, I forgot to just pause on that frame. One or two ensemble members picking that up. The one model that tries to hold 99L together is the H-WRF. You'll notice that there is still a bit of a circulation here. Now, here's the thing. This is still in the Western Atlantic by Monday morning. But note the latitude, about 11 degrees north latitude, very low latitude. Trinidad is about 10.5 degrees north latitude. Barbados on average about 13 degrees north latitude. So you're talking about the Windward Islands if this were to hold together, very far south in latitude. But right now it's the only tropical model running on 99L that even keeps a closed center of circulation, and it's a very weak one over the next 4 to 5 days. So more than likely 99L is not going to develop, but we're gonna have to keep a very close eye on it for you guys, because that's south latitude track, which means it would have more direct impacts to the islands, unlike Erin and the one closer, which are recurving. So rain chances in the areas look like this. Behind Erin, we're drying out in the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos over the next couple days. We'll stay with the scattered showers and storms in Cuba. Cayman Islands will have some decent rain chances tomorrow, just like Jamaica had today, and then drier Friday and Saturday. Improving rain chances for my friends in Belize and Roatan, Utila, Guanaja areas, and then drier on Saturday, Cancun and Cozumel. We'll see scattered showers and storms. Scattered showers and storms, the forecast as well for my friends in Jamaica. Dominican Republic's rain chances really build in. And again, more tropical moisture coming in with that next disturbance, so higher rain chances there. from a dry forecast tomorrow in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands to wet and then widespread showers and storms on Saturday. Again, regardless of development, squally weather, breezy conditions moving back in Friday, Saturday. Bermuda's rain chances are obviously very elevated with the passing of Erin to the west and eventually to the north. Anguilla's rain chances go from paltry tomorrow to you ramp it right up on Friday, and you stay 70 to 80% Friday and Saturday. Antigua and Barbuda's rain chances on Friday are 90%. Montserrat, Guadalupe at 70. So again, that's the closest approach of that disturbance with the rain, the storms, the squalls. Obviously, we'll drop it off a little bit here, but there will still be some tropical moisture coming into the rest of the Lesser Antilles. So improving rain chances in most areas, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, SVG, as we get into the Friday and Saturday. Barbados rain chances go up as well, just not as much in these areas. Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, healthy showers and storms from time to time. Locally heavy rainfall is a possibility, and obviously kicking up some marine conditions. These are all things I'll be watching for our friends in the Eastern Caribbean for the weekend ahead. Suriname and Guyana's rain chances are pretty darn good. Nueva Esparta, scattered showers and storms. Not a lot of rain for the ABC Islands. Friends, I do appreciate you guys. Thanks for following us across all of our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video? The simplest way to do that is myMediaMundo@gmail.com. As always, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, again, thank you for liking and subscribing. And please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Wind, hail, hurricane damage of any kind to your property. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. The website is leanomnilaw.com if you would like more information. Again, closely monitoring a healthier looking Erin. Impacts beginning across the North Carolina coastline late on this Wednesday. Another disturbance likely to brush the northern Leeward Islands late tomorrow, but especially Friday and Saturday. And does Invest 99L hold together as we get towards the weekend? All those things I'll be monitoring for you guys very closely. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. I'm back tomorrow with your latest forecast right here at Meteo Mundo.